Hi, I'm Marshall Stern, and I've spent over 35 years leading and growing multiple small businesses. I know firsthand the struggles of entrepreneurship, feeling isolated, lonely, overwhelmed, and feeling like you have to do it all by yourself. I've been through multiple recessions, and I have felt the highs and the lows. I've been there, and I get it. This podcast is here to change that. Every week, I will bring you straight talking advice, real-world strategies, and honest conversations about what it takes to succeed in business without the fluff, the gimmicks, or the sugarcoating. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress, then you are in the right place. This is the Stern Truth. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Stern Truth, Business Unfiltered. And to my, right or left is my amazing guest this week, which you're going to get to know, Karli Grove. Welcome to the Stern Truth.
Oh, thank you. Such a pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys next week.
Oh, it was a far travel. Well, thanks for the venture.
Yes. Okay. Tell us a little bit about who you. I want to talk about how I got to know you, but first I want to know a little bit about you. Have our listeners get to know the amazing Karli. What do you do? Who are you?
Oh, that is a big bucket of worms. Which avenue do we want to go down? Do we want to go down kind of hobbies, interests, fascinations? Do we want to go down kind of history path? Where do we want to go?
Let's start with business.
Okay.
What's your business and how long have you been in it?
My business, it's called Kantency Consulting, and it's organizational change. And we've been up and running for about a year and a half.
Okay. What were you doing before that? Start there.
I was traveling right before this.
Nice. Okay. So you're traveling. Okay.
Yeah.
What got you into, did you always want to be a business owner?
No. I didn't really know much about the world of business. So I come from a small town. And even the concept of business owner, city, corporate versus small town, the just perception of it's very different. People in a small town don't call themselves entrepreneurs. They're just, I guess they just are business owners, but they're not even business owners. I don't even know what we call them. They're just part of the community, I suppose. The question was, how did I kind of get into it?
Yeah.
Cool. Just making sure. I got distracted by the term. How I kind of got into it, did I always want to be a business owner? Not really, but I kind of knew for a number of years since kind of in the middle of university that this was going to be eventually the trajectory that I went down, that I was going to take on some sort of consultant role in this type of sphere. I didn't know exactly what it looked like, but I had a couple of experiences where I went, ooh, there's a need here. And I actually can help with this niche. So the idea was planted in university, but I knew that I wouldn't be taken seriously without life experience. So I moved home, worked a 9-to-5 job, worked 4 other hats at the same time in the pursuit of kind of gaining all these different skill sets and whatnot. And that kind of came to an end, and life ended up taking me abroad. I ended up living in New Zealand for a year. And then I backpacked Southeast Asia for about half a year, then came home to start a business, mainly because I love traveling. I absolutely fell in love with traveling. And I figured in my head, the most logical way to travel sustainably is to come home and start a business, right? That's how you get freedom to travel, right? So business wasn't always on the docket, but the general idea of this venture.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, most of us start a business, yeah, exactly for that freedom, the time freedom and the money freedom. And
yes.
We all know what ends up happening a lot of the time.
Yeah. It takes a lot longer than you think.
So on that front, I'm curious. So you said about a year and a half you've had this?
Yeah. Okay.
So specifically, consulting. So before I get into the other question, who do you consult?
Right now it's organizations. So slightly medium-ish size organizations, even though everyone has a different definition of what quantity constitutes sizes. But pretty much as soon as a business gets to 10, 15 plus employees, that's where I start to come in. So my approach to organizational change is the big picture mapping of change. I don't like the 180 flip kind of changes. I think that they are an attempt to solve a root problem, but they're doing it not necessarily the wrong way, but a really hard way. 180 changes are really hard and they don't have to be. So my approach to the big picture change is to map it out, but then find where that core source of resistance is coming from, because there's a need for a change. There's a reason that organizations feel change is needed, but they are operating from their own confines of what they think is realistic or applicable, or it's whatever they see in front of them. And so I kind of come in and I help find where that source is coming from and try and find a solution that actually can more aligned fit within them, that it's not as hard, it's more aligned, maybe it's more cost effective, it's more aligned in terms of branding or purpose or skill sets or environment, niche, all those kind of things, rather than doing the 180 change and crossing fingers. So I like to come in with organizations so that they don't have to do the 180 changes. They can just we can dive deep to find where the source of resistance is coming from and then make tweaks that actually fit them. Especially, I don't like when people do cookie cutter, copy and paste. This is what the other company in this industry is doing, so we're going to copy them and do it too. Weird. Why isn't it working for us? Because it works for them. It doesn't work for you. But can we dive a little deeper to figure out why do you think you need that and how can we adapt it to you?
So I guess the question, I want to go deeper on that for a second here. I work primarily with small business owners, coaching and mentoring them. You're working with larger companies, different layers, C-suite. There's a big difference, not only in the mindset and obviously the organization, the organizational chart, because a lot of people I work with, they are the chart or they have a small team. But when it comes to organizational change, people I'm working with, they're the ones like they change, right? If they have employees, it's usually a small team. But the people you're working with, if they're coming to you, how do you, I know it's probably a loaded question too, but how do you get to organizational change when the person who comes to you might want it, but everybody else doesn't? Like you're talking about, I think you used the word like the resistance. How do you get through, how do you navigate that with your clients?
So it depends on kind of what my role is with it. If I'm kind of going in the organization on their behalf, or if I'm kind of giving them guidance on how to navigate within their own organization. If I were to go into the organization, what I do is you kind of just talk to people. Actually, have you ever seen the TV show Undercover Boss?
Yeah, I love it.
So it's kind of like Undercover Boss, where I kind of go in and I firsthand go and witness what's happening between the lines that people aren't saying. So the boss, the head honchos, they want change. The staff do not. Well, what do they see that maybe the head honcho doesn't? What are they afraid of that they just don't know how to communicate to it's almost a giant negotiation of trying to find what are the underlying sources, motivations, and is there a way that we can satisfy what changes I'm going to keep saying head honcho. What's the changes that they want? And is there a way we can happy medium with the other people rather than bulldozing over and saying, no, we're doing 180 change, suck it up.
Right.
So it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of reading between the lines, layers.
Let's talk certain truth here. Karli, if I can call you Karli. Undercover boss you brought up.
Yes.
Okay. So do the employees cry at the end of you working with them? Because they're always crying on the undercover boss because the boss is giving them, the head honcho is giving them like paying their education, paying for their kids' education, buying them like a down payment on a house. You don't have to really answer that because that was sort of, but I do love the show. And I know what you said. Yeah.
It's been a long time. Ideally they wouldn't cry like that, but there'd ideally be more laughter because there wouldn't be as much tension, as much stress, as much of that resistance. There'd be more laughter, maybe more brainstorming because they have the mental capacity within an organization they've got the freedom to be creative in their capacity that they were hired, but then also they can go home and they don't have to stress about work, or there's just more laughter.
What do you think is missing? What do you think organizations, small business, medium-sized business, large business, what do you think is missing out there? I know it's again a loaded question. It's a big question, but what do you, from your experience, or what do you think they're missing?
We're getting better at empathy is the word that comes top of mind, but I don't necessarily mean empathy in the way that people default think of it. When I say empathy, I mean mainly asking questions. Curiosity is kind of sometimes needed a lot more, especially in businesses. Everything seems to be very black and white, high stakes, do or die. And it seems as though questions can be perceived as a delay, a distraction, a waste of time. But questions are actually kind of what uncover the secret sauce. You've probably heard this Henry Ford quote, and a friend and I were talking about it earlier today, so it's also top of mind. Henry Ford has a quote, and it says, "If I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have told me faster horses." Because what Henry Ford was able to do, and people like him under this metaphor, is they ask questions. Well, what is it that you want? Okay, you want faster horses. And if people just stopped there, we wouldn't have vehicles today. But Henry Ford was able to kind of ask questions and be a bit more curious to go, what is it about faster horses?
Right.
Okay, you want to go see your family. Okay, but what about seeing your family is actually more, okay, you want to save time. So if I can find another way to save time to get you from point A to point B, would that work? So he used curiosity and questions to kind of get to the solution, which a lot of businesses seem to bypass. Or they ask 2 questions and call it good, and then they move on because the next fires come up and they have to go put out that fire.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. It's like that. I'm a Ted Lasso fan. I don't know if you've watched Ted Lasso.
Not in completion, no. I've seen little clips online, but
yeah, and it's probably one of them. It's where he quotes Walt Whitman. He said, "Be curious," because he was I guess in the show or whatever. He said he was like picked on and people didn't understand him. And
was this the dart scene?
No, that's barbecue sauce. That's one of my favorite scenes.
All right.
Yeah. It took me a second. Barbecues. Oh yeah, I get a bullseye. Okay. No, just be curious, right? And that's like as a coach, that's what I'm supposed to be as well, right? Be curious.
Yeah.
I would say like I learned this from one of my coaches, like be interested, not interesting, right? And be curious. So organizations, big and small, need to be more curious.
And we're getting better at it. We're getting more and more human-centric, which means that curiosity naturally has to come suit. Sometimes I worry that
are we or are we putting into AI, into ChatGPT?
That's where my thought process is also going. I don't need to ask them what they think. I'm just going to ask ChatGPT what they think, what they might be thinking.
So, okay, what has been one of your biggest challenges, I would say, or it might not be a challenge now, but entrepreneurship, totally different from whatever you were doing before, the jobs you did and the hats you were wearing before, and the traveling. What has been the biggest challenge that maybe you really didn't even think about? I mean, we don't know until we do it. But what would be one of the biggest challenges you've been through as a business owner?
In terms of kind of going from the previous life to this life, the biggest challenge would be, and I imagine lots of business owners have this, it's the, lack of a better phrase, self-accountability. When you work for a company as an employee, there's tasks that get put on your plate, and there's deadlines that are put on your plate. And I am excellent at addressing tasks put on my plate and meeting the deadlines put on my plate. I loved school for that very reason, because I knew what was expected of me, what to do, how to do it, and when it was needed to be done by. It was great. As a business owner, you have to create your own tasks, you have to determine what's important, and then you have to put the tasks on your plate, and then you have to set your own deadline, and then you have to determine, right, that is a firm deadline with consequences, but then your brain tells you that actually that's not a real consequence. You just kind of determine that date, but we can actually push it 2 days. It's not actually that important. And so probably that kind of, however we want to call that, going from someone putting tasks on your plate to putting tasks on your own plate.
It's the case, accountability for your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I hear this all the time. And in fact, I just had a conversation earlier with one of my clients. It was the same thing, right? Because I'm going to assume, Karli, that you don't have a problem being accountable to your clients because someone's expecting something.
Yep.
Right? There's someone else. Same thing with me. And even as a parent, like if I had to pick up my kids when they were younger, first of all, I have, what do they call it? I have late anxiety. I cannot be late. Okay. I have to be on time or early. Yeah. I hate it. So if I'm in traffic, I mean, I remember one time I was late to take my son. This wasn't even picking him up, late to take him to baseball practice. Yeah. I turned into like the Incredible Hulk. Like it was bad. Like the traffic, like I just don't like traffic. Anyways, that's for another episode. But if I had to pick up my kids from school, I wasn't going to miss that because they were expecting and waiting. There was accountability there. But once for our own stuff, right? Like going to the gym, or even doing business development, lead generation, working our own. Yeah, it's
once I have a structure, I'm pretty good at sticking with it, but it's a matter of setting up that structure, even in a non-business sense. For not 2025, but 23 and 24, I read about 50 books each year.
Wow.
And it was awesome. I loved reading books. And some people are like, how did you read so many books, especially when you were traveling? Well, I had a library membership. I had multiple library memberships, and they got pushed onto my Kobo. Well, when you borrow a book from the library, first of all, when it's available is when it's available. If you can't read it right now, you might have to wait another 4 months sometimes to read it. Oh, I accidentally put the hand up. There we go. So it's kind of, you have to read it now. And then when you borrow it now, you only have 3 weeks to read it.
Right.
There's consequences. So I was really good at reading books because a book would come up and I go, ooh, yes, I want to read this now. And it has to be read in the next 3 weeks or else. So that was really good motivation of kind of creating systems of consequence. Even like going to the gym, there was a gym in New Zealand where it sounds bad, but for me going to the gym, I also like to make a presence, kind of have an accountability buddy of sorts, even if it's unofficial. There's this one gym in New Zealand that I went to, and it was on my way to work. And I went 5 days a week. 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, I was there at the 6 o'clock class. And in my head, no one expected me to be there every day. But in my head, I'm like, I am a consistent for people. They are expecting me to be here 5 days a week, every day. And if I don't do that, then they'll miss me. So that was a weird kind of consequence I set up for myself. But I enjoy setting up structures of consequence, like ones that other people will quote unquote impose onto me, right? Book gets taken away, people will miss me. Da, da, da.
Well, and that's why. So, a quick background. We met in, I guess, in shout out to Kelly Kennedy, the Catalyst Club, in his group. And part of it is, there's an accountability aspect to it if you allow it to be. It's not forced upon you. But give an example. Yesterday, right? I was doing that workshop that you were in the group and the training and on the entrepreneur method. And we talked about, and you brought it up, because we're talking about the word of the year and all that kind of stuff. And I talked about how it's, what did I say? It's being comfortable, being uncomfortable for me. And you said, I have a word for you, ice baths. So the reason I say that, I'm going to bring it up for our listeners. I had mentioned this yesterday in our session, right? The gym I go to, I go to the workout, to the gym, and then I go to the pool after, and it's not an ice bath per se, but it's a cold plunge. And I've been in it a couple times, but it's freaking cold. And because of our conversation yesterday, I said, if my word for the year is ice baths, or my whole motto for the year is being comfortable, being uncomfortable, I'm going to do it. So I told you just before we got on, I went a little late yesterday. I was a little tired and I didn't want to do it. And I do like to go in the hot tub. That's relaxing. But then I thought, okay, I told Karli I was going to do it.
And you knew that you were going to be talking to me.
I knew I was going to be talking to you today. See, if I didn't know I was going to be talking to you, then I play games, mind games. But although I am committed to being uncomfortable, comfortable being uncomfortable. But it helped that, yes, we're going to talk today. And I knew you would probably ask me, did you do it? And if I could have said yes if I didn't, but what's the point of that? That's fooling myself. I'm the one losing out.
Yeah, right? You're the one all day that has to go to sleep knowing you didn't do it. Wake up, go through your day, be like, oh no, I'm going to be talking to Karli. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, okay. What would be for our listeners, what would be, let's say, one, I love golden nuggets. My late father used to say, if you could just take back then there was no internet or not even DVDs or CDs or anything. If you take one course or go to a speaker or seminar, you get one golden nugget.
As in?
For business, people who are in their business, just as a business owner, I'll let you go anywhere with it. But what would be one gold nugget that you would just want to impart with them, do this?
As in kind of a specific reminder, or as in kind of a type of course skill set to build?
It could be a skill set to build, but if people are in their business and they're not sure the next step, they're not sure, here's the thing. The economy, okay? Economy, whatever. But it's still, economy's up and down, who knows this, tariffs and all this kind of stuff. They're not sure what to do, when to invest in this, when to invest in a coach or a marketing strategist or a consultant, when to bring on staff. They're just not sure. What would I know it's a very open question. I just like to ask open questions.
That's fair. I might have one. And it's by no means the best nugget. We'll call it a bronze nugget rather than a gold nugget, maybe.
We'll determine that. Let's see.
A lot of elements of Kantency, they always circle back to communication. My friends jokingly call me the queen of communication, but I still have work to do. But I like to think I'm pretty good at it. Active listening, asking questions, all those kind of things, leading with curiosity. But one thing that I like to tell people about communication is a statistic about it that kind of helps bring things into perspective about where our communication comes from, where it's received, all those kind of things. And it's a current statistic. I hope that it's going to evolve in the future because I think there's elements that are missing. Anyways, when you are talking to somebody and there's a conversation, only 7% of that is words. So when you're texting somebody with words, you're only communicating 7% of the message you're trying to convey. The other elements of the statistic, tone of voice is the next one, and tone of voice makes up 38% of the message we're trying to communicate. So you get on the phone with somebody, now you've got a collective 45% of what you're trying to communicate. Phone calls are way better in that reason than text messages. Voice memos are way better than text messages because you're now conveying an additional 38% for tone of voice.
Okay.
The remaining 55% is body language, which is huge. So even though you're on the phone with somebody, you're still missing information, which you can even imagine as a kid, we're all on the phone talking to our high school crush and we're walking around the house. We're pacing. Our body is kind of just fidgeting with things. We're reacting to things. You make a comment and my face goes, what?
Yeah.
But all you hear is what? You don't see the face. That what could be what? 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 Like it could be all sorts of things, but because you don't have the body language, it's not conveyed. Body language is huge. So when you're having a conversation with someone, when you're trying to be curious about someone, probably try and do it in person. Now, the reason I say I hope this statistic evolves, you and I, in theory right now, are face-to-face. According to the statistic, we should be communicating 100%, but we're not. Because I can't see your nostril twitch. I can't see your leg going up and down. I can't see the change in your breathing. There's just all these in-person elements that also consist of a whole bunch of different elements. So even though we are body language face-to-face, that technically currently makes up 100%, hopefully it's going to evolve to incorporate an in-person element too. But right now.
Okay, so that's fascinating, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a gold. I'm going to give it a gold.
Okay, great.
Okay. Well, because okay. I'm sure people are like thinking about this, but when you start to say the first part, the 7% words, okay, that's initially everyone's all about social media, right? And forget about the video part, like static posts or email, like newsletters and emails, or coaching programs or consulting programs that we're just saying, here's the landing page, right? Those are words. And we wonder why people aren't clicking. People who don't really know us.
Yep.
Okay. Or a text message. Or you're following up with a prospect who has ghosted you. Okay. Which never happened to me.
This is the Stern Truth podcast.
This is the Stern Truth. Okay. Okay. All right. But the, okay, I'm just looking at what you said, 38% tone of the voice. So I used to work for, long time ago, DC Lottery Corporation. Okay, out here. This is a good story, so it's okay. I'm not slamming them. This is a good thing. And I was in their sales department, their telephone sales department. This is back like in the 90s, early 90s. And they had a little mirror on everyone's desk, every salesperson's desk. And it had on the top of the mirror, smile. It was just a reminder when you're on the phone with these customers, with the lottery ticket centers, that's what we were doing, smile because they can hear it through the phone.
The tone of voice changes.
The tone of voice, they could just hear it, right? And so when you were talking about when you said the tone of voice, it's like, yeah, I remember that. And no, it's not the tone of voice. Sorry, the body language. Body language
like
went into the tone.
Language.
Went into the tone. Yeah, right. So yeah, that's Maya Angelou, right? It's all part of like what she said. People don't remember necessarily what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. And that's something too with like the landing pages and stuff. When people are reading words, they're reading it with their tone of voice. and the emotions that they associate with that word, with that sentence, with that whatever, like whatever
Yeah.
emotions they are experiencing right now, they're projecting also onto you because their
Yeah.
emotions influence how they interpret their tone of voice,
Yeah.
which interpret how they read your words.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. No, so I think just like what I'm taking from this gold nugget from you, which I thank you, is whenever possible, even if it's through social media or through an email or any kind of communication, try to definitely don't just have it as words. Try to incorporate, make sure you have the right tone. And that's another we can spend a whole session on like AI and our tone of voice in
Yeah.
the AI, right? Using that, but and body language, yeah, like it's Simon Sinek, right? Talks about that, and just like I don't know if you've ever seen the video that he has about uh, the Gen Y. What does he call it? Yeah, the Gen Ys and like the cell phones, and they could be in a meeting, or you could be out for dinner with a friend, and just because they have the phone upside down doesn't mean like it
Doesn't
means
mean they're present.
doesn't mean they're present. It means that the phone is more important than you are.
The moment the phone goes off, it's going to take priority.
Yeah.
That is my exact issue. Not that I don't know if anyone can see this
A real
watch on my hand.
a real watch.
Correct. I refuse to wear a smartwatch.
Yeah.
My mother, bless her heart, a couple years ago for my birthday, she got me a smartwatch because she was kind of reading between the lines of a comment that I said, which could be understood to mean that I wanted a smartwatch, but unfortunately she gave it to me and I said, Mother, I love you. I can't accept this. But it's for that reason that how many times are you in a conversation with someone and they just kind of they're still talking and they're slowing down a little bit because they still have a thought and then sorry, right,
Yeah,
and then I'm
yeah.
really back into it now and they do the hit thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, yeah. So, I don't know who this is calling. And you break, yeah, it's like, I'm not as important. I have a quick,
Similar to the phone.
I have a quick story. So, and I think I've talked about this dude on the podcast before. So I have an acquaintance. I haven't seen him in a long time. He moved out to Toronto. I remember having dinner with him. This is again back in the 90s. I had just started my sign graphics business. He had just started his web development company. And we had a nice lunch. And, I didn't really know, like I knew him through friends, but we just decided we're both business owners. We're going to get together and just shoot the shit and all that kind of stuff. I can say shit because it's my podcast. You can say shit too if you want.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll never forget. He was so engaged with me and asking questions about me and about my family and about the business. And he was like legitimately and authentically, seriously interested. It was almost like, whoa, that kind of thing. But it felt good. Like I was the only person in that restaurant. His phone was put away. Well, it was probably a brick phone back then. So it wasn't in his pocket, but I'll never forget that. Like he was just so engaged with what I had to say and about me. I had another friend who was actually my closer friend, never once would ask, and it wasn't just about me, he would never ask anyone questions. It was always about himself. And it felt icky. So we weren't really great friends. We were social friends. But the connection was there because he never really was curious.
Or if he did kind of make comments, I imagine they were what I call the one-upper kind of comments. Always has to one-up.
Yeah.
I think of when I was in high school and still living at home, I have younger brothers. They're 6 and 7 years younger than me. And we'd go somewhere, maybe as a family, I'd take my car separately. And sometimes my brothers would want to be a passenger in my car. So like, okay, who's going with Karli? Who's coming with us? And whichever brother's like, yeah, I'm going with Karli. I established from the very beginning that I have a rule in my car. If you're going to be a passenger in my car, you are not on your cell phone.
Mm.
Because I do not get passengers very often, and I want to visit with you, and I want you to share this time with me in my car, so please, no phones. And they were awesome at respecting it. And actually, over the Christmas holidays, my one brother told me, he goes, to this day, Karli, and I think it's if he's a passenger in someone else's car, phones away. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we could talk like, Simon Sinek talks about it, and we all have to do that. We have to put our freaking phones away, and we have to dial in and be focused with not just obviously the people in our family, our friends, our community, but our clients, our prospects, just people. And and not because we want something other than to serve and to be there and to listen and to be a sounding board, just to be curious. Because, and the reason being, because
Because we're social beings.
we're so, and we crave it.
Yeah. Can I bring in our conversation that we had yesterday about phone calls and
Sure.
community? So we were talking yesterday about the influx of in-person events and how everyone is loving going back to in-person events because it's a space for community.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that's great that you can go somewhere where a village exists. However, there's still work in between to be a villager. And that, I think, a lot of people do the illusion of villager work by texting people, messaging on LinkedIn, emailing, but it's all kind of for performance. Like you're saying, that there's an agenda behind it. Versus, at least what I want to do this year, is to have more phone calls with people, because that's a way that you kind of strengthen the village dynamics in the interim, in a way of, hey, here's my tone of voice. Hey, if anything, passively, remember, next time you read my email, this is my tone of voice. I'm a very energetic, happy person. I'm not a bitch. I'm going to extend your shit allowance and
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
But I think phone calls are also really important too, because yes, the village is your 55% body language incorporation, but you still need to be able to have those webs in between the moments through things like phone calls. Because if you're just doing in-person 100% and then you do messages, you're going from 100% to 7%. So either I'm going to misunderstand your 7% or I'm going to have a different idea and understanding of your 100%. But if we can do phone calls in between, and it's like, okay, now I've kind of got the full range of what makes Marshall Marshall. So when I hear his voice message, see his text message, see him in person, I got the whole spectrum of how he communicates.
Yeah, 100%. And for our before we go, for our listeners, if you take that, and like I remember when I had my sign company, okay, I would get one of my employees. She would constantly be getting texts or with her friend. I think it was with her friends, and she would misread it, or even from a customer, and she would misread it. And she would come to my office, and she would just be like, "I can't believe they said this. I can't believe they're doing this." And I would just say, I'm not going to mention her name. I'll make it up. Barbara, Joanne. We'll say Joanne. Call them. That's not what, that might not be what they mean. Those are words. Just call them. She goes, no, I can't believe they did. And she would go back and she would respond back. And then they're like, what? And then finally, I got her to call them. And it's happened with a client once too. Just call them. And it's like, oh yeah, they didn't mean, that's not what they were talking about at all. That's not what they meant at all. That wasn't the tone.
There's a video online, and I should find it one day again. I talk about it here and there. And it's a perfect demonstration of how text messages get misconstrued when you're reading it, because it's person A sending and receiving text messages and then person B. And it's like person A is angry and defensive and how dare you.
It's funny one, right? Is it
and person B is like, oh, you're a piece of work. Oh, thank you. Even though this guy's like, oh, you're a piece of work.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a piece of work. Thank you.
It's a brilliant one. And they do a whole bunch, the two of those guys, if it's the same one. I can't remember his name. He's an actor. They're both actors. They do a whole bunch of skits like that, but that's one of them where he says, I can't make it tonight or something like that. Or do you want to go out tonight? And the other guy says, dude, yeah, sure. And the other guy I can't remember.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Like, what do you mean? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Obviously he doesn't want to. What's more important? And
whatever you want, whatever. Yeah. Whatever it goes.
Yeah.
I should pull that up again and use it there's a couple of my presentations when I talk about tone and interpretation and stuff. I should pull that one up again to demonstrate. 7% is not a lot of communication, my dear.
Yeah. So let's not we don't want to leave it to just the written word, right? We need to bring in the tone, the body language whenever possible, video, obviously in person is best, that sort of thing. Okay. I'm going to have you back, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Is there anything?
I love going down.
Sorry, which?
I like going down rabbit holes.
I do too, because you never know where they're going to take us.
Exactly.
So if people want to reach out to you, can I put your information in the show notes?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your website?
Kantency.com. Kantency.
Perfect. Just in case people are driving and they have like this memory, it's like, but you can check the show notes too. Karli, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Yes. Such a pleasure. I always love just flying by the seat of our pants. A little bit of structure, lots of leeway. see where it goes.
Well, I think for our listeners, seriously, I think there's been some gold nuggets here. Be curious. I would say I always take so many notes, like the questions, deep, like dig down deeper, like with your
Yeah.
prospects, with your clients, with your staff. Ask questions. It's the question. It's the 7-layer. It's like I love 7-layer dip, but go 7 layers with the questions. That's
Pretty
the
much.
why behind the why.
Yeah.
Like
And one day I would love to kind of do research. I think it's Brene Brown. She does Brene Brown vulnerability and
yeah,
shame.
yeah, yeah.
So like everything's kind of stemmed back to these core things. I would love to one day kind of be a Brene Brown of common sense, because I think that it all comes down to similar core elements, and maybe not
Yep.
common sense. Maybe that's a different tangent that I will go down a different day. But we are human beings, and as much as people give us credit,
Yeah.
we're still animals, and there's still the same core elements that everything comes back to. And I can't remember what they all are, but it's like fear of abandonment, fear of push towards safety. Everything somehow comes back to safety and belonging, because we're social creatures if you dig deep enough. So it's like, okay, how are belonging and safety being threatened in this situation?
I got nothing else. I mean, I'm still going back to this whole. Yeah, I'm going to watch this again and again. And I hope our listeners do, and I want our listeners to. I always ask this, but don't forget. I want comments. I want feedback. If you're on YouTube, and don't try to sell me on getting this podcast up to #1 on YouTube. Like if you're watching, like don't do that. Like if you're actually listening to this, what's your golden nugget or your takeaway of these gold nuggets that Karli has shared today? And
That's a prime example of a time that your 7% went way off the deep end, and it just barreled into a misunderstanding because it was only 7%.
Exactly. Karli, thank you so much. And for the rest of you, get your comments in there. Check out Karli, check her website, check her on socials, and we'll see you again next week on another episode. And Karli, don't go anywhere. See you again on another episode of The Stern Truth, Business Unfiltered.
Thank you so much for tuning in to The Stern Truth. If you found today's episode helpful, we would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and leave us a review. Also, if you'd like to be a guest in an upcoming episode or join us in one of our Momentum Accountability Group sessions, simply email me to marshall@marshallstern.net. That's marshallstern.net. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep pushing forward and leading with confidence.